Welcome back to the Disabled Center's Facebook Live page. And today we are having a presentation by Alison Haynes from People First on communication insights. So we're very lucky to have her, and this will be a great presentation. I think we will all enjoy. So I'll turn it over to Allison now.
Hi there. As Brittany said, I'm Alison Haynes. I'm the Outreach Coordinator of People First of Alabama. I am also the President of the Jefferson County Chapter that meets every third Friday of every month, right? People First. And today I would actually like to share with you a presentation on communication insights, which actually teaches, is a tool to teach you how to know how to speak assertively versus aggressive and passively, and also about self-advocacy. So let's get started. Insight number 1, being assertive. Well, what is assertiveness? If you're assertive, then you are communicating courage to stand up for yourself, to show you want to be treated fairly while being respectful to others. An assertive person understands that his beliefs, ideas, needs, and feelings are just as important as someone else's. What are some opposites to being assertive? They are being aggressive and passive. If you are aggressive, then your attitude towards others would be rude, argumentative, pushy, or angry. If you are passive, then your attitude towards others would be shy, fearful, or submissive in the form of being weak. Now here's some examples of being assertive and passive versus being aggressive and passive versus being assertive. Take a look at this little boy in the red here. He's got an aggressive look on his face. What is he thinking? He's thinking, "Give me that book or you're going to get it." Sorry if I scared y'all. But anyway, that's a rude, that's a pushy type of attitude, aggressive, very angry. Now, take a look at this little boy in the blue. He's very passive. He's got a passive look on his face, and he's very shy looking. What is he thinking? "You can have the book. I don't need it." He's very fearful, especially of that little boy that just shouted at him. Now, how about this little boy in the yellow? He's got an assertive look on his face. He's very confident feeling. And what does he say? He says, "I'm reading this book now, but you can have it when I'm finished." That is the correct way in which you should act, because he's respecting the fact that these two little boys want this book, but at the same time he's standing up for himself, sharing his opinion, and by just saying, "Hey, I'm reading this book now, but you can certainly have it when I'm finished." Okay? So here are some key elements to assertiveness. Pay attention to what you think, feel, want, and prefer. You need to be aware of these things before you can communicate to others. Notice if you say, "I don't know," "I don't care," or "it doesn't matter," when someone asks you what you want. Stop yourself. Practice on things that you prefer, especially on things that hardly matter. Like, take a look at this picture here of these two little girls. One of them is saying, "Would you prefer the blue or the red one?" And how does this girl respond? Does she say, "Give me the red," or "No, you can just give me whatever you want, I don't care"? No, she says, "I'll take the blue one, thanks." Always say thank you after you share your opinion, because it shows how you can be, shows that you appreciate the fact that the other person was being respectful to you. Okay. In the same way, practice asking for things. For example, could you please pass me a spoon? I need a pen. Does anyone have an extra? Now these are basic manners, but it's actually these kinds of basic manners that builds your skills and confidence so that you will know how to ask for things that are more important to you. Like, let's say you were on a job interview. The last question that you're going to receive on a job interview is, do you have any questions for me? And don't just sit there and just say, no, thank you. Say, yes, actually I do. In fact, if you feel like you don't have any questions, a good point to think about is research the company that you're applying for so that you can have questions at the time of your interview. Give your opinion. Say whether or not you liked a movie you saw and why. And find a role model who's good at being assertive, one who is not too passive, not too aggressive, but completely assertive. These types of people would be like your parents, your teachers, your employers, even some of your friends, a pastor, but just anyone who is not too passive and not too aggressive. And remind yourself that your ideas and opinions are as important as everyone else's. Knowing this helps you be assertive. Assertiveness starts with an inner attitude of valuing yourself as much as you value others. You know, as I look at that, I think about the passage in the Bible where Jesus says, treat others as you want to be treated. Do you value yourself? Do you value others? Be respectful to them. Treat them fairly. Aggressiveness versus assertiveness. There are also ways in which we can work on being less aggressive and more assertive. If you're one of those talkers, then the first thing that you need to think about is try letting others speak first. If you're around in the circle of your friends and again you just start talking, instead of doing that, just look around the room and see if there's anybody that would like to speak up and let them speak. Notice if you interrupt, catch yourself and say, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. And when you disagree, try to say so without putting down the other person's point of view. For example, instead of saying, that's a stupid idea, try, I really don't like that idea. Or instead of saying, he's such a jerk, try, I feel hurt by his actions. Again, looking at the elements closer, it is always good to have a role model who is good at being assertive, not too passive, not too aggressive, and imitate their qualities because we never stop learning. Even I am still learning how to be assertive. One thought to have is, notice when you're at your best being assertive. People behave differently in different situations. Many people find that it's easy to be assertive in certain situations, like with friends, but more challenging in others, like with teachers or meeting new people. In tougher situations, try thinking, what would I say to my close friends? You know, actually, I have a personal story in which it was actually tough for me to be, to be assertive to one of my friends. Actually, before I got a job with People First, there was a guy had called me, one of my friends, and he had told me of a job opportunity that he thought I would enjoy, and he told me what it was, and I said, yeah, absolutely, I would love to apply. But then I asked him where the location of that job was, and he told me. And at that point, my heart sank because I did not really, where the job was located, I did not feel safe driving to. Both because I don't drive on interstate and just it was in one of those areas that I just didn't feel safe. And so I tried to be assertive with him, and I told him my concerns. But he just encouraged me, which is a good thing. Of course you want to be able to encourage your friends when they're fearful. But You don't want to over-encourage. You don't want to be, quote, pushy. Anyway, as we continued to talk over the phone, I just finally went completely passive, and I said, okay, thank you again for letting me know this opportunity. I'll apply. And I did, but I didn't feel very comfortable about it, and the job didn't really work out. But just thinking about that phone call, I just keep on thinking, what could I have said that to my friend that would have helped me to get my point across more? How could I have been assertive? So, when you speak assertively, it shows you believe in yourself. Building assertiveness is one step to becoming your best self, the person you want to be. Insight number 2, self-advocacy. Well, what is self-advocacy, and how can you be one? First, it is important to say that the ability to self-advocate can be the difference between success and failure in the real world. It's linked to action. It's critical reflection. It's learning by doing. It's participatory. You want to be participating in everything. But here are some more definitions that I'm going to go and share with you through this picture right here. Take a look at this picture. This is a lady and a man, and she's got a notebook right in front of her. Let's say she's on a job interview. So, and this is the employer. So, how is she advocating for herself? She is learning how to speak up for herself. She is making her own decisions about her life through the job that she's applying for, that she's interviewing for. And she's learning how to get information so that she can understand things that are of interest to her within the position that she's applying for. And she's finding out who will support her in her journey. Will this employer hire her, or will he not? It's also knowing your rights and responsibilities. You have the right to have a job. You have the responsibility to go out and look for that job and apply for it. It's problem solving, such as being assertive versus being aggressive and passive. It's listening and learning. Again, if you're a talker, the best thing for you to do is just to be able to be still, to be quiet, and just listen to what to the person that is talking. Because the more that you speak, the more that you listen, the more that you can learn. It's reaching out to others when you need help and friendship. If you have a disability, like I have cerebral palsy, and there are things that I can't do, or I have a hard time doing. A lot of times I cannot open a bottle of water or open a bottle of anything, and if I'm with Susan or with my parents or anybody else, I'll ask them, could you open this for me, please? So never be afraid to ask if you need help. It's learning about self-determination. Be determined to seek out your goal and go for it and succeed in your goal. Be determined to go out and look for a job. Be determined to volunteer or do anything that you desire. Now, how about fears of self-advocacy? Lots of people have fears. Most people fear telling others, such as employers or even friends, about their disability due to rejection of employment or their self-image. Take a look at this scenario. Jill has a hearing impairment and needs people to talk to her when talking to her, so she can read their lips or have them write down what they are trying to say to her. She has recently started a new job and she is very excited about it. She decided not to tell her employer about her hearing impairment and is going to try to just get by the best she can. Well, what do you think might happen if her employer found out? Do you think she'd be fired for not speaking up about her disability? Or do you think she would be understanding and say, why didn't you tell me? I could have done my best to make accommodations for you. For this scenario, Jill should have advocated for herself by speaking up about her disability. People may think, well, then she never would have been hired. While it is true that there are such employers who think this way due to prejudice, the real truth is because most employers receive little training in working with individuals with disabilities and are not aware of how to accommodate special needs. So here's some guidance to self-advocacy. There are 3 things that you need to remember. First, we must be an advocate. We must be able to advocate for ourselves so that our employers, our potential employers, our friends, our family, they'll know how to help us. And we can also ask for help from those who are experienced in setting up accommodations modifications, such as departments like the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. Actually, I was a client of the Alabama Department of Rehab Services at one point. And one of the things that they helped me with when I got my job with People First, they supplied me with a computer program called Dragon. I can only type 35 words per minute, or up to 35 words per minute with my left hand. But this particular program, it has a microphone with it, and what you do is you just speak to your computer and it triples your speed of typing. So it's things like that. Anything that you have a problem with, they can help supply. Also, we can take part in organizations such as People First of Alabama, even the Able Center, which helps you to know not only your rights and responsibility, but also we want to be able to teach you how to feel good about advocating for yourself. Again, advocating for yourself is scary, but the more that you do it, the more you can become confident. Now, here are some role models. In our last Communication Insight, I did tell you that you needed a role model to help you be assertive. Well, the same can be applied for self-advocacy. If you are afraid to tell your friends about your disability due to hurting your self-image, then you are not alone. Self-image is very important to many people, such as Ed Roberts and Johnny Title. Well, who is Ed Roberts? He is a disability rights activist, and he was the first spokesperson for the disability rights movement in the 1970s and 1980s, and is well known as the father of the independent living movement. He was born January 23, 1939 in the state of California. Roberts contracted polio at the age of 14 in 1953, 2 years before the Salk vaccine ended the epidemic. He spent 18 months in hospitals and returned home paralyzed from the neck down, except for 2 fingers on one hand and several toes.
Did he talk?
Yes, I believe he did. Ed was told and believed that he would be nothing but a vegetable, and eventually tried to die by refusing to eat. Yet his mother never gave up on her son. She insisted that he assert himself and stand up for his rights. And with her support and encouragement, he moved away from thinking of himself as helpless and crippled. Those were very common words back then. And decided to stand up for his rights. So he was destined for a life of advocacy and social change. How did he advocate? Well, he actually fought for his right for his high school diploma. After he had polio, he was not able to complete his driver's education or his gym class, and they would not allow him to give him his diploma. Because for that reason. So he fought for his rights to have his high school diploma, and he got it. Also, as a college student, he was admitted to the University of California, which is Berkeley. He had to fight for the support he needed to attend college from the California Department of Vocational Rehabilitation because his rehabilitation counselor thought he was too severely disabled to have a job. That was the mindset back then. That was a rampant mindset. And even today, people are thinking that way. But that's all the more reason why we need to go out there, advocate for ourselves, and be able to change hearts and minds and let people see that, hey, we can do this. While at Berkeley, Ed Roberts and a group of his friends began advocating for the right to live more independently by fighting for curb cuts through campus, opening access to a wider community, and to create the first student-led disability program the country calls Physically Disabled Students Program that obtains support services for independent living on campus. You see here's a picture of a curb cut. See how this side is higher than the other? Well, if you were driving on the road, this side is as even as the road would be. So all you got to do is just kind of wheel yourself up there. That's a curb cut. Roberts realized that many of the buildings at Berkeley were not accessible to him or other wheelchair users. Roberts and his peers demonstrated to enforce Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which stated that people with disabilities should not be excluded from activities, denied the right to receive benefits, or be discriminated against from any program that uses federal financial assistance solely because of their disability. For 28 days, activists occupied the offices of the Carter Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare building located in San Francisco. After relentlessly fighting for their rights, Section 504 was signed into law and became fully implemented under President Nixon. This taught disability activists that they could shape the federal rulings in their favor. These acts of resistance was a contributing factor which paved the way for the necessary creation of the American Disabilities Act, which was actually signed into law by President George H.W. Bush in 1990.
George H.W. Bush is nice.
He certainly is. Okay, so who is Johnny Title? Johnny Title grew up in Michigan and actually has cerebral palsy. He attended Hope College in Holland, Michigan, and received his Bachelor's of Education degree. He has over 30 years of experience of being a motivational speaker, a comedian, an author, and a social activist. Johnny made headlines in the news when one airline denied him his right to fly on an airplane. He had planned to attend a conference for self-advocates becoming empowered in 2010, but had to miss his speaking engagement. Let's watch his amazing story.
Too disabled to fly alone. That's what an airline allegedly told a Grand Rapids motivational speaker on his way to a conference on disabilities. 24-hour News 8's Dan Schieber spoke with Johnny Title about what happened. Dan joins us from the live desk.
Brian, Johnny.
Well, okay.
May just be bad.
Yeah.
Why don't you try to pause and play it again? Just hit pause and let it sit for a second and see if it needs to buffer. And just wait a second and then.
Titles.
what it was because I saw it. So hit pause again, Allison. 'Cause I saw something. Just wait there for a few seconds. Yeah, it's long enough.
Minimize that and refresh your page. Okay, now go to the top and refresh that page.
No, just
Now don't
circle.
close the page.
Just
Refresh
circle
it.
right here. Allison, here. Oh, this right here. No, right here.
Yeah.
Allison.
There
Here.
we go.
And this.
You might have to improvise.
Yeah, that's fine. I have yet to, yet to share this film with anybody. I always seem to have internet problems.
No problem.
So basically, he was denied the right to fly. In fact,
mean.
yes, it was very well.
Why was
They wanted him to fly with a companion because they saw that he had a disability and they thought that he believed he needed a companion. But he had flown many times without a companion, and suddenly he runs into this problem. And in that report, actually, it actually says that he was actually considering filing a lawsuit because of that, because it was going beyond. They mentioned the American Disabilities Act in there, was going beyond that, as well as his civil rights. When I was researching about Johnny Title, another report that I had found about him, he actually, a reporter asked him the same question, and he said, "No, I'm not going to do this because I've got a family to support, and I've got a job to do, and if I can't do my job, then I've got a problem." And so his attitude basically was that he wanted to press forward. He wasn't going to look back in the past, but he wanted to press forward. And actually, ironically, the painful incident generated international publicity that allowed him to bring his message of disability awareness, education, encouragement, and inclusion to a worldwide audience. So as the old saying goes, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's what all that, he made the big time news back in 2010. That all the reports that were about him really just woke people up. So how does he advocate? Well, first of all, his motivation to advocate for people with and without disabilities is through his personal belief. He says, "I like to help open people's eyes to the gifts that God gives us. I believe God can use me to teach other people, especially those who have disabilities, that we are all just as whole as anybody else." Now, see, here are some programs that he uses to advocate through. For the elementary age group, he teaches inclusion, disability awareness, problem solving, and team building. And one of the ways he does this is through some books that he wrote called the Gun Lake Adventure series, which I have some of those books. They're really cool to read. They're mystery stories. Remind me of Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. It's pretty cool. And for the middle school age group, he has a unique program called Life Lessons that helps students discover personal life lessons through sharing their own unique journeys. Also, for the high school audience, Johnny blends storytelling and stand-up comedy to address topics like inclusion, disability awareness, anti-bullying, and school climate. The program allows students to recognize personal roles and responsibilities within their own communities. Also, for the higher education orientation, he focuses on specific challenges related to this transitional period in students' lives. This program teaches on the delicate topic of human rights. For the corporate and custom field, Johnny also crafts custom full or half-day programs specific to the needs of your organization. In addition to any of the topics above, Johnny speaks on team building, workforce climate, motivation, sales expertise, and humor. Now that we seem to have two famous people advocated for themselves and for others, one of them is still advocating to this day. That's Johnny Title. Unfortunately, Ed Roberts died in 1995, but his legacy still lives on and inspires so many people. Let's review through several questions. How could the actions of Ed Roberts or Johnny Title play a role in your own life, or anybody you have as a role model? How can you be more assertive without being too aggressive or passive? If fear of a situation stood in your way, such as not telling your employer that you have a disability, how should you handle it? Remember, if you need help, please feel free to talk to agencies like the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, or even us at People First of Alabama or the Disabled Center. We can't get you we can't help get you jobs. That's ADRS's job, but we can certainly help motivate you to getting a job. To also know your rights and responsibilities of getting a job, and really your rights and responsibilities of having a disability in general, and also to help you feel good about advocating for yourself. It really is so important to do that, and basically to learn how to make decisions in your life and how you can live your life with those decisions you make. Okay, does anybody have any questions over anything that you've heard so far before we move on?
Well, I really like the fact that you brought up telling your employer about your disability.
Mm-hmm.
We work with participants who are seeking employment. There's a certain part on the application that asks, do you have a disability?
Mm-hmm.
And many of them struggle with whether or not they should answer that question, because they do. That's the number one fear. If I click, I have a disability, then maybe they wouldn't hire me. But actually, no, that's not true. You know, I think that a lot of employers these days are more open to inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And want to bring in people with disabilities to diversify their workforce. Also, what if you get hired and you did not, disclose that information up front, but now you need to get off work for a doctor appointment or something like that, and then you tell them, well, I have a disability, you're not letting me do what I need to do. Well, you did not inform that employer up front, so it's very important. But I always tell them, listen, go ahead, click yes.
Yes.
It's really going to work in your favor if you disclose that up front. So I like the fact that you brought that up.
Okay. Does anybody else? Yes. Mm-hmm.
On that same note, I think it's really, really important that you don't apply for a job that you physically cannot meet the qualifications, because it not only makes you feel bad, it really is hard on the employer. So if you read your qualifications and they say you have to lift 50 pounds bags all day long, and you know that you can't even lift 5 pounds because of your back, that's not the job for you.
Very true, very true. That's true.
All right. Before I move on, is anybody else, or is that it? Okay. All right. So now let's put the communication types we have covered into live examples. We're going to play a guessing game. Try and guess what is being communicated. The next 3 slides you will see will show 2 different videos for each communication type we have covered.
You're just scheduling influence.
You have me on the schedule again for Friday. I told you and told you I cannot work on a Friday. So I'm just gonna go come in and you'll have to find somebody else to do it.
Okay. And the next one.
Hey,
Hey Claire, how's it going?
all right, what's going on here?
Oh, I'm just setting up for the party tomorrow.
And the party is,
You know the 4th of July party, you're coming, right?
I had planned to come. Is this your idea of good decorations for the event?
I should say so.
Well, if I were you, I might want to rethink some of these decorations. They look a little childish to me for things
You know what, Claire? If you don't like my decorations, you don't have to come.
Really?
You heard me?
Well, I may not come then.
All right.
All right, so which attitude was that?
Aggressive.
Absolutely.
Good job.
I'm smart.
Good job.
Yes, you saw that she really acted angrily to her boss. That is not the thing you need to be doing. And this is 2 friends here. Their names Jennifer and Claire. Of course, y'all know their real names.
That's just Susan Ellis.
That's correct. That's Susan.
One.
And another one's Julie Morrow. And anyway, they are, of course, Jennifer's having friends over. She's having a July 4th party, but Claire is actually kind of speaking to her in a rude-like, format, and saying, "Hey, you should have some more decorations." And she gets angry. She gets even angrier. And she does not like it. So no, you don't need to be acting aggressively like that. Okay. Now here's the next one.
Here is your schedule, Miss Noyes.
I said that you have me scheduled to work on Friday. I told you I couldn't work on Fridays, but I guess since I'm already on the schedule, I'll just miss my responsibility and I'll be here to work on Friday.
Alright.
Okay. And the next one.
Hey Claire.
Hey, Jennifer, what's going on here?
Oh, just setting up for the party.
The party?
Yeah, the 4th of July party. You're coming, right?
Is this really what you're going to do for the 4th of July, these decorations for the 4th of July?
Yeah. Don't you
Really?
like that?
Well, I don't know. I think your guests may not be that impressed.
Oh no.
You might want to rethink it and have something that's a little more sophisticated than this.
Gosh, the party's like really soon. What should I get?
Well, I have some catalogs we can look at. Actually, I already picked out a whole bunch of stuff, and it wouldn't take anything for me just to order what I picked out.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
Okay, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay. That's passive.
That's exactly right, Kunal. Yes.
I made an A.
Yes. So you see, this employee, she is once again has been given her schedule by her boss, and she is very fearful, and so she just really shy actually. She just says, "I'll just have to miss whatever I was going to do on Friday." So That's not a good thing either, to be able to tell your relative. And certainly not a good thing to be able to let them know why. You need to be able to advocate. Another one, Jennifer is scared to death about Claire. I mean, she feared, she's actually thinking about her friends. She's thinking, oh my gosh, I need to redo this whole thing. She's just frightened by the way that what Claire said to her. So, but you do not need to fear. You need to think about just, hey, what kind of decorations do I have? I think these would be the best. And so, you don't need, like I said, you don't need to fear. Okay, now here's the next one.
Here is your schedule for this week, Ms. Norris.
I see you have me scheduled for Friday. I told you that I could not work on a Friday. Is there something we could do to fix that?
I could see what I could do.
Next one.
Jennifer? Hey, Claire, how are ya?
I'm all right. What's going on here?
I was just setting up for the 4th of July party later.
And this is what you picked out for the decorations?
Yeah, red, white, and blue hats and, bees and some pretty flowers.
Are you sure this is going to be enough to impress your guests?
I like it. I think they'll like it.
I don't know. I'm thinking your guests are not going to be really impressed by any of this.
I've known my friends for quite some time, and I think they'll be fine with it.
Well,
Thanks for your input, though.
yeah, well, all right. Have it your way.
Okay. So which attitude was that?
Assertive.
Assertiveness.
Good job.
All right, yes. So she finally was able to advocate for herself. She told her boss, she assertively spoke up and told her boss that she was not able to do it on Friday, and he said, I'll see what I can do. Jennifer did the same thing. She was assertive, very advocated for herself, and she was able to tell her friend Claire that the things that she had was good enough. So
And Claire was being pushy.
Claire was being pushy, that's correct. So, in conclusion, let's practice what we have just seen. Among the handouts that you have, I guess we really don't have, I think I could probably just ask y'all and y'all can answer me. I don't think we need to split up in
We've
groups.
had a lot of examples. You could just put 2 people up here to do one example, and then let another 2 more come up here. Because that's what we did.
Okay.
Isn't that how we did it last time?
Whatever is you would
Okay.
like.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, well, we can do that, but the question is, how can we be assertive versus aggressive and passive? And as the old saying goes, practice makes perfect. So, all right, what I can do is read the question, and y'all can answer it and see if they're see how see the answer to the scenario. It says there are 3 exercises with 2 scenarios. Pretend you are one of these people among these scenarios and think about how you would respond to each one. Would you be aggressive, passive, or assertive? So here's number 1. Melody is standing in line to get her lunch at school, and someone pushes in front of her. How would you respond if you were Melody? How should she respond to be assertive?
You want to?
Asking
How would you respond?
it. I mean, you are aggressive and ask for, can you pass the lunch?
Yes, that's right. You can do that. Noel, do you have some thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry I hit you, but It's because I'm in a hurry, but I'm very sorry, but I'll try to move on.
Well, that's
Again.
mhm.
Try again. What do you say?
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry I hurt you, and I didn't mean to knock yourself down, and it's because I'm in a hurry of class, so take care.
If you were Melody, if you're Melody, not the one who pushed you, if someone pushed you, is that right?
That's correct.
If someone pushed you, what do you say?
I forgive you, that's an accident.
Good job. You know, I kind of had this exact same.
But you should not like when someone goes like this and act like that they intentionally did it.
Good job, you're right. I kind of had this same experience at Publix about 2 days ago, and I guess I was passive because I was standing in line, and the gentleman got in front of me, and when the lady walks up, he knew it was the line, and he said, all I want you to do is just wrap this for me, you know. And then the lady that was in front of me turns around and said, did he just cut in front of you? I said, yeah, he did, but that's okay. You know, and so I guess I was passive, you know, but honestly, that's kind of my personality in a sense, but I would have been assertive if I had to. I just really did. I really didn't care, to be honest with you.
I get
But,
passive. All the time, I get passive.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's alright.
Yeah.
You can do it
A
like
passive son doesn't make you totally bad, actually.
True.
And
I guess it depends on the situation.
Yeah, and in that example, if you weren't in any kind of rush,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not worth possibly causing a big
Yeah. Yeah.
big issue over it.
Yeah. Now the
Yeah.
lady in front of me, she was ready to fight this man because he cut in front of me. You know, she figured like he was taking advantage of a guy in a wheelchair or whatever, you know. I said, it's okay. But I guess the proper way to respond would have say, excuse me, but the line is back there. Would you mind not cutting in front of me?
Yes, that's it.
Excuse me, I was here first. I've been
What would you
waiting
have
on
done
lunch
if
for
he
2
said,
hours.
well, I'm in a hurry?
Huh?
What would you have done if he would have said, after you were assertive,
Uh-huh.
and he said, well, I'm in a hurry, so I'm going to stay here.
I'll say, sir, everyone in this line is in a hurry. It's rude of you to cut in front of us.
I mean, I will admit, like, when I've been in a hurry before, in different places, and I have to go check out lunch, I will ask somebody, do you mind if I go before you? I'm in a big hurry. Sometimes they're like, well, I'm in a real big hurry too. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Some of them are like, no, go on ahead. You know, but I never just push myself in front.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one.
read that properly, read that sentence properly.
Brandon invited a friend over to show him some new baseball magazines he got for his birthday. After his friend left and he put them up, he noticed that his favorite magazine was gone. He thinks maybe his friend took it. How would you respond if you were Brandon? How should Brandon respond to be assertive?
That's hard.
Go ahead.
I would, if I was Brandon, I would call Brandon up. I mean, I wouldn't call myself up. I would call my friend up and say, hey, I'm missing my favorite, one of my favorite magazines. By any chance, did you accidentally get them mixed up in your stuff when you left? Do you mind checking?
All right, yeah, you never want to be able to accuse the person, but you want to be able to carefully check.
So when you know that the time frame lines up with your friend taking it, and they say, no, I didn't get it, how do you be more assertive?
Well, I know the last time I saw it was when I showed it to you at my house today.
Friendship on the line.
Okay. All right. Jennifer is planning on hosting a party after which actually I'll just skip this one since that one's already been kind of shown on there. Henry is talking to a friend about something important, but he or she doesn't seem to be listening. How would you respond if you were Henry? How should Henry respond to be assertive?
Anybody want to jump on that one? Read it to us again.
Okay. Henry is talking to a friend about something important, but he or she doesn't seem to be listening. How would you respond if you were Henry? How should Henry respond to be assertive?
I guess, Arlita, I would appreciate it if you would pay more attention to what I am saying.
I would say, Arlita, do you have something on your mind? I'm sorry that I'm talking about something that I thought was important, but maybe you have something important.
Now, I've actually, my dating days, is there somewhere else you need to be right now?
I think I'll just stop after the first sentence you said that, is there something else in your mind? That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I would just say,
Is that passive?
this is something very important to me.
That might be
I think
passive,
it's
but I
passive,
didn't
yeah.
stop there. I
You
said,
are assertive, I'm
I think is
passive.
what I'm talking about is pretty important, so may I finish?
Okay.
Okay.
I like that. You asked on that?
I would say, excuse me, but I'm trying to tell you something that's very important.
Okay. All right. And here's some employment questions. Brooklyn is being interviewed by a potential employer, and the employer asks, "What are your weaknesses?" How would you respond if you were Brooklyn? How should Brooklyn advocate for herself?
This is a really good question.
This is good.
And
It's a very famous question.
is a disability a weakness?
Yes, it is. And I hate that I'm not saying it, because I have a disability, and I have strengths and I have weaknesses, and it is related to my disability. Okay, like I can get in my vehicle and drive to Atlanta, Georgia with no problem, but I can't put my own clothes on. You see what I'm saying? I can, go through a drive-through, get my food, feed myself, but I couldn't go to my stove and cook my dinner. You know what I'm saying? So I have strengths and I have weaknesses. So I guess if the employer was to ask me that question, I would say, well, there are going to be certain things that I need. Like let's say if I need these splints to be able to type, or I may need more time when I'm working on a certain project. If you require me to handwrite some things, I may need an assistance with that, or something, some scenarios like that.
Asked by the boss
Yes.
after you've discussed that you have a disability?
This is
Or
like this
is
up
this-
front, right?
This is
Like in an
actually,
interview process.
yes,
right?
this is
Yeah.
in the interview process.
Yeah.
So
So
this
is this the time that you ask?
This
You
is the
tell
time
them.
that you reveal that you have a disability.
Got it.
I think the important thing is, and I kind of learned this was a situation, I've never interviewed for a job, but I was in college and I was starting to go, I had to go observe in the school system for 8 hours. Well, I had some medical needs, with my feeding tube and stuff, that had to be addressed. So I went to actually I talked to the dean of education, I think, and to someone else, and I said, okay, this is my I have a feeding tube. This is my issue. Now, how I can address it is A, B, or C. And they actually really appreciated it. They said, well, it was very professional that you came in with an issue, but you already had the solution for it.
And that's important.
So, if you're saying, like, for instance, if you need something typed, I'm a slow typist, but I can promise you, I will be productive, and I will work my very hardest, and I will get it done. It may take me longer.
Yeah.
So I think by saying your weakness, but kind of either saying a solution or reinforcing a positive spin on it, saying like, even though it may take me longer, I will do it. I promise you, I will do it.
And you know, Allison, I would actually appreciate this question from an employer. And I don't see it as being like where some people may get offended. Oh, you think my disability is weak? I actually would appreciate that question because it shows me that they're really interested in getting the best production out of me, and they're willing to work with me.
Let me ask you this. If as an employer, I'm not allowed to ask you your age, I would feel that I wouldn't also be allowed to ask you about your disability.
And see, that's where a lack of knowledge and lack of education comes in. Where Allison said in her presentation earlier that a lot of employers lack education about how to work with people with disabilities. Honestly, I'm speaking for myself. It wouldn't offend me. You know, I would appreciate it. You know, that will tell me what are your limits, what are your weaknesses, what's your disabling condition. I would appreciate that because it tells me that they're being open-minded, they're willing to work with me, they're trying to figure out how to get the best production. So I'm just speaking for myself. Would anybody else be offended if that question was asked?
I personally would not be offended, but I could be totally wrong about this, but I do not think an employer can outright come out and say, what is your disability? I do not think they're allowed to come out and ask you that.
Yeah,
But they can ask you if you're disabled.
Yeah, but they can't ask what is.
So the point that they ask you if you're disabled and you say yes because you don't want to lie, then isn't it at that time that it would be appropriate to explain?
Well, yes, I would say yes. But I'm just saying I've learned that but I think ADAP told me this, that they're not allowed to outright ask you what is your disability.
Through my own experience, just with all the interviews that I've been on, I have been asked that question various times. What are your weaknesses?
Were you offended by that question?
Not at all.
No.
Well, I get asked that too.
Again, because I wanted to be able to tell them my disability.
Yeah.
And another thing, and this is my personal belief, I wanted to show them, share with them, what my weaknesses were within my disability. Because I wanted them to know that it's through God's work that actually, is displayed in my life. That's John 9:3. And I want to show them how Christ fills my life. That's my personal belief. But just sharing, just in general, I want them to know that, hey, please don't look at me in another way. I can do this.
I like that.
And I always share I kind of share what my symptoms are, like lack of balance, like I can't stand too long, things like that. And then I always follow it up with I want to encourage the employer this is when I always talk about the Alabama Department of Rehab Services, because like I told you earlier, I can only type 35 words per minute. That's one of the most famous weaknesses I have when it comes to my disability. when it comes to a job. And I've told them before, but the Alabama Department of Rehab Services supplies a program called Dragon, which actually speeds up your typing. So I want to always encourage them so that they can know that this girl can do this.
Well, 35 words a minute with one hand
It's pretty
to me
impressive,
is
isn't it?
very impressive.
I was thinking the same thing.
I have a Dragon dictate. I have the old version.
Okay, well, good.
Good program.
It works, but it's the old.
And that's okay. All right, the last question here. Harry's asked by a coworker to do something against the company's policy. What would you tell the coworker if you were Harry? How should Harry respond to be assertive? Another hard question.
Hey, Jackie,
Yes.
could you clock me in? I'm running a little late.
You know, I don't feel that we should be doing this.
Why? I'm just 5 minutes late. I mean, if you don't clock me in, they may fire me.
If we're friends, you wouldn't ask me to do that. That's breaking the rules.
Well, I guess we're not friends anymore.
I hate that for you.
Is that one just crumbled? Like
But
you
that's
said,
true.
friend doesn't tell friends to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a person is really a true friend, why would they put you in a situation that's going to jeopardize, your well-being?
Exactly.
Show me your friends and I'll show you the future.
There you go. Yeah. So the way she responded was how to respond to. And honestly, I actually had a situation similar to that where a friend of mine who, I'm calling his name, but he was dipping and dabbling into some marijuana. And he wanted to get hired for a job. So he comes to my house and asks me for my urine.
I knew that's coming.
And so I said, excuse me. He said, man, he said, you clean. Can I use some of your urine? I've been trying to get a job for so long, the company want to hire me. And I flat out told him no. And he stopped talking to me, So I guess I shouldn't call him my friend anymore, but he hasn't talked to me in years because I didn't give him my urine, And, but if he was truly my friend, just on what he knew what my moral beliefs were alone, he should have not even asked me that.
Correct. And lucky for you, he did, so now you don't have to deal with it.
Yep.
A true friend knows your core beliefs.
Because the thing will have your turn true for what you thought a person thought who was your true friend turned on yet because of your moral beliefs at what's not nice.
That's right.
Was it because of your disability?
Nope, just because I just said no to not letting him use my urine.
When you say no.
The bathroom?
He was trying to pass a drug test for a job, but his urine was not clean. So he wanted to use mine because he knew it would be clean. So he wanted to not be truthful about, his actions with the employer. And so he wanted to involve me.
Did you say he was on drugs?
He was.
He was.
Then he won't have good behaviors at all.
That's correct.
So he has to get over it to get a job.
That's correct.
Good job.
Okay. All right, that is it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Let's give Allison a hand loud. Thank you so much. That was a really great presentation, Allison. Thank you so much for bringing that to us today.
You're welcome.
Guys, Allison, before you close out today, please tell us more about People First for those in the room and also those of us who are watching online, please.
Yes, absolutely. People First of Alabama is a self-advocacy organization. We teach people how to advocate for themselves and for others, and to know their rights and responsibilities so that they can have more choices in life and be more independent. Today I actually brought a folder which has some information in it about a program that we have every other month. It's called the Young Emerging Leaders Program. If you are between the ages of 16 and 26, we actually you can be a part of this program. If you're a little older, you can help mentor somebody. But what we do is we teach, Kunal's one of the participants, we teach self-advocacy, we teach leadership skills. Basically, Young Emerging Leaders is all about how to teach people with disabilities to become leaders within their own community. So anything to do with employment, we've taught civil rights, human rights, employment skills, leadership skills, everything. There's actually a book online in which you can go to. I believe we have it on our website. Our website is www.peoplefirstal.net, and you can go online and you can learn more about us through that. I think also even the Young Emerging Leaders program. If not, I can give you some more. Well, actually, there's a phone number to call in there to learn more about the Young Emerging Leaders.
Can you give those online phone number?
The office phone number is on there, yes.
What is it?
What is it?
205, let's see, yes. 205-986-9988. That's it. And you'll talk with Susan Ellis. She is the director of the People First of Alabama.
Anyone have any additional questions for Allison? Any additional questions? Well, I would like to thank all of you all for being here today. Allison, that was a really great presentation.
Thank
you.
You
really just touched on just about every point that we covered throughout our theme this month on self-advocacy. That was really, really good. Also, I want to remind all of you all that our man here, Minister Paul Jones, right here, Minister Paul Jones, right here, raise your hand, Mr. Paul Jones. He's a recent Highlands graduate, and he is going to be speaking for us, or rather preaching for us, at a Bible study and potluck tomorrow night from 6 p.m. to 7:30. This will be his very first sermon since graduating college. So we're really, really excited to hear the message that he's going to bring.
First one since last year when I spoke at True Love Church down in Williamsburg, Alabama.
And so we're so excited to hear him bring us a message. So I want to just extend an invitation to everyone. We're going to do it right here at the Is Able Center. You're welcome to join. Bring your Bible and bring a dish. We're going to have fun. We're going to have
Sounds
fun.
good.
It's going to be tomorrow night, Friday, from 6 p.m. to 7:30. So in closing, I want to thank Nathan with Alabama Care for taking us live today, and also thank everyone for joining us online. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time.